Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of College Hockey Talk. On today's podcast, I'm joined by former Providence Friar, Neve Van Pelt. Welcome to the podcast, Neve, and how's everything going?
Thanks for having me. Things are going good back in Canada after my season in NWHL. That obviously got cut short, so that was tough, but happy to be back home.
Yeah, I want to ask you a little bit about that bubble that you were in Lake Placid for the NWHL. What was that experience like for you? And even though it ended in an unexpected way, what did you take away from it?
No, it was still a great experience. The exposure we got was awesome. Like, we gained a lot of following for the NWHL. It was a lot of fun just to be with the team, play some hockey games finally. I know this has been a bit of a weird year for hockey, so I think just being able to play a few games was really exciting.
Now, what was the main difference you noticed between pro hockey versus college hockey?
I would say the strength in the players. I noticed, like, I found the speed very similar, but just at the pro level, I think there's some older girls just a bit stronger, especially being a centerman. I take a lot of face-offs, so I noticed that especially just a little bit tougher to face off against some of those girls.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing looking at the NHL bubble was there was a lot of challenges the players had to face. I haven't really heard any of the challenges that some of the NWHL players faced. Can you elaborate if there was any challenges you faced being in the bubble, and how did you try to overcome some of those challenges?
Yeah, I found some of the challenges were even before the bubble, just with restrictions and things we were and were not allowed to do. It was also tough for our team, especially like being in Buffalo. We have players on both the American and Canadian side. So it was a while there before we were able to practice as a team together. So I think that was probably one of the biggest challenges for us, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. And was there any adjustment you had to make to your game trying to practice with the Buttes? Because, like you were mentioning, half your team wasn't practicing together. So once you guys came together, how did you try to adjust everything in a short period of time and get ready for the season?
I think just trying to like put things together, start working with lines, like seeing who had chemistry, who didn't have chemistry, just getting into more like power play, penalty kill, that type of thing that we weren't able to practice as much without the whole team.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing looking at the Buffalo Beauts rosters, there's a lot of Providence Friars. You were playing with former Providence Friar teammate Whitney Dove and Cassidy McPherson. What's it like playing with those players that you played in college with?
It was a lot of fun. They were two of my closest friends in college. Whit and I were there for 4 years together, and then Cass 3 years. So it was definitely really fun to be able to lace up the skates with them again.
That's awesome. And besides the bubble, what have you been up to recently since graduating college, and how have you handled the pandemic so far?
So I've actually been living in Buffalo with a few teammates. Because I'm Canadian, I wasn't able to work. I was just playing hockey. So just kind of focusing on my game, working out. We would play card games, board games, a bunch of just random stuff, puzzles, got into a few shows. So just keeping busy.
That's nice. What shows have you been watching?
There's a few. We're big Bachelor fans in our
Nice, nice.
house. A couple Netflix ones. My one roommate got me into Quantico. I don't know if you've seen it,
I
about
have
the
not.
FBI. It's a really good if you're looking for a show.
Definitely
Um,
have to check up on that.
yeah.
Now, what's
Um,
your thoughts on The Bachelor? I know there's a new guy, Matt James. What's your thoughts on him? I've heard a lot of drama going around between The Bachelor right now.
I'm a big fan. I think he's a great guy. Seems very genuine. So I'm excited to see how it plays out and who he ends up choosing in the end.
Who do you think he's going to choose?
I'm thinking Bree. That's my top pick as of right now, at least.
Well, I would have to agree with you on that. I'm not watching the show. The only thing I watched one season of The Bachelor last year with Pilot Pete, and he seemed like a good guy, but a lot of people hated on him from some reason. For some reason,
Yeah, I feel like it was just a couple of the decisions he made were
yeah, definitely,
a little questionable in some people's eyes.
definitely, definitely. Now, what's Buffalo like? I know you're living there for the first time, like you were just mentioned. What's the city like overall?
I liked it a lot. Obviously, we didn't get to do as much as we would have hoped with the pandemic, but there's actually a lot of like trails we would go when it was like less snow, obviously, but and the falls is there too. So we would go there and walk around and just kind of experience that. But it was a great city.
Yeah, what's Niagara Falls like in Buffalo? I've been to the one side in Toronto, and it's one of the most beautiful sights to see. Is it like just as good as the Canadian side in Buffalo?
I would say I'm a little biased towards the Canadian one. I don't know if that's just because I'm from Canada or not, but it is still very beautiful, really cool. And I find there's a bit more like walking area or like trails on the American side, which was kind of cool.
That's awesome. And Buffalo's a huge sports town, obviously, with the Bills and the Sabres. What's it like being a part of that sports atmosphere, being part of the Beauts organization?
It was a lot of fun. I was actually not that into football before this year, but being in Buffalo, my some of my teammates really got me into the Bills, so I became a big fan this year.
Nice. Josh Allen, pretty good quarterback. What's your thoughts? Do you think he should have won MVP?
I don't know. Tom Brady's quite the goat, so
Definitely. I would agree with you on that.
that's a tough one to beat. I love Josh Allen, but I think I would still give it to Brady.
Well, it seems like you've been having a quite decent year, even with everything going on. Is it crazy that it's been a year since the whole coronavirus just started? Because it felt like I was just thinking about this. It felt like your season just ended like 2 months ago, but now it's back and it's the middle of the hockey season already.
Yeah, I was literally just on Snapchat and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I got a memory." And I was like, "Has it been a year already?" Like, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, definitely. It's been crazy. But I want to start off now talking about the beginning of your hockey career. You're from Mitchell, Ontario. Talk about growing up there. What's it like, and how'd you start playing hockey?
So, Mitchell's a very small town, which I like. I'm a small town girl at heart. I actually started, I don't know if you know the sport ringette, but I started in that and then um, just kind of moved to hockey. I think I was like around age 7, I'm not sure. And yeah, I went to hockey and never looked back. And I played with a few of my friends from the town growing up. And then I went to boys hockey for a year and then went back to girls after that. And yeah, just loved the game.
Yeah, who was your favorite player growing up, and what part of their game did you admire the most?
Oh, this is a tough question. um, I think like being a girl, I always looked up to the Canadian women's team, and at the time it was like Cassie Campbell, Haley Wickenheiser, and they were just great all around players. And I think just as a young girl, you just look up to that and see them playing for their country. And we got to go to a game one year, and just like seeing the crowd like at a women's game was a really cool experience.
Definitely, was it cool to see Haley Wickenheiser get inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame? Because I know that was such a significant induction when it happened.
Yeah, for sure. I think it was huge for women's hockey and just awesome to see as a woman myself.
Now, before Providence, you played for the Saugeen Maitland Lightning for 6 years. Talk about your experience there and what did you take away from it?
Yeah, I absolutely loved that organization. It was a bunch of kind of small town girls, like similar to myself, all like going to this area to play. And I've made so many friends, like girls I'm still friends with today. Um, yeah, it was a great organization. We uh, always like, we weren't like the big highlight reel team, but we just like had a lot of hard workers. And I think that's where I really learned to work super hard. So always be thankful for that organization.
Definitely, and you were telling me just a few seconds ago how you used to play boys hockey. Was there any transition or adjustment you had to make playing boys hockey, then going into girls hockey full time?
Yeah, well, the year I played, there was actually still hitting. I think it was Adam, so it's changed now, obviously. So that was a little bit different and it was a bit faster, but all in all, like I think at that age, there wasn't too big of a difference from when I switched.
Now, after your experience with the Lightning, you then played for the Toronto Junior Arrows. How'd you get the opportunity to play with that team?
Yeah, so the hockey world's pretty small. So I played summer hockey with a few girls, so I just knew a couple of them. So I think one of like them were like talking about me to their coach, and their coach reached out and kind of just went from there. And a bunch of the girls, obviously, like I'm friends with them, so they were like, "Oh, you should come play! Like it'd be so fun." So that's kind of just how that happened.
Yeah, and talk about your experience with the Arrows and what was your favorite memory with that organization?
That was honestly one of my favorite years of hockey. It was so much fun. The whole team got along so well. We actually won the PWHL and provincials. So I would say those two moments were probably uh, my best memories from that year. Yeah, it was just a lot of fun. Dave Gwynn was the coach too, and he's been one of my favorite coaches of all time. Just a lot of hockey sense. Great guy, yeah.
Do you still communicate with those players even today or throughout college? And do you still talk to your coach with the Arrows today as well?
Yeah, well, social media is nice for that. So I'm connected to them all by that. We still actually have our Arrows Snapchat group chat. So the odd time someone will send something in there and we'll talk a little bit. But yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Now, what were emotions were you feeling after winning that PWHL championship, especially at a young age? And what's it like having a little bit of team success before heading into college?
Yeah. Um, I think it was a lot of excitement, like obviously just all that hard work paying off. A team just like so happy. And then provincials was obviously our last game we played together with that team. So with all the excitement also came so many tears because we were like, this is our last year, like we're all going our separate ways. So it was a little bit sad as well.
Definitely, but it's one of the best ways to end off a season for sure, especially if it's your last game.
For sure. Yeah, it was awesome.
Now, talk about your recruiting process. What was that like for yourself, and why did you choose to go to Providence and Hockey East?
Yeah, so I had reached out to a couple schools, was talking with a few different ones. The Providence coach had invited me to come down like and tour. So after I went down to tour Providence, I had toured a couple other schools, but after that school, I was like, I remember saying to my parents, I'm like, this is the school I want to go to. Like, I was just like really hoping for that offer. So when the coach did offer me a spot on that team, it was no, like without a doubt, like a yes for me.
Yeah, and what was the biggest adjustment you had to make to college hockey? Was it the speed of the game, or was it actually the mental side of the game, making quicker decisions with the puck?
I would say a bit of both. I definitely found the speed was a lot faster. Like I remember playing in my first game, I was like, whoa, like this is a lot faster. But yeah, I would say both of those things. And again, like just from that jump to junior to college, the strength and the players as well was very evident.
Now, playing in Hockey East, it's one of the best conferences in college hockey. What's it like being a player in that conference and just the competition you face every night? Because there's definitely no night off.
Yeah, I loved playing in Hockey East. I found like all the teams, like from whether they're ranked first, eighth, whatever, like every night, like you got to go in and play that game to your best of your ability, or like you're not gonna win. Like every single team brought it. Every team had like the skill. So I found it was just like you were never going into game like, oh, we're just gonna win this. Like this is gonna be easy. Um, you really had to bring it every night to win in that league.
Yeah, and an underrated part of Hockey East that people don't talk about is the short bus rides. Did you enjoy that? Because compared to other conferences, it's definitely a lot different.
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely nice only having to travel like an hour-ish for most games. Of course, the longer bus rides to Maine or Vermont were always fun, but I think it wouldn't have been as fun if I was doing that like every single weekend. So I definitely liked having those short bus rides for sure.
Definitely. Any funny bus stories you have that you want to share on the podcast?
Oh, there's a lot. I mean, Rookie Idol's always a good one.
Nice, nice.
And my friend Whit, who I played with in Buffalo this year, and I loved it. Like even after our freshman year, we're like, "Can we go?" And we'd go do a duet at the front of the bus for the team, and they always loved it. So it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Did the bus drivers enjoy it at all?
Yeah, for sure. There's a few bus drivers over the time that we got to know, and they just loved the energy on the bus.
Definitely, that's good, and it helps motivate your team when you play a game. It helps hype you up, guys up, which I think is important.
For sure.
Now, in your freshman season, you played Vermont in the Hockey East playoffs. That was your first Hockey East playoff experience. What was that like for you, and what did you learn from that playoff experience that helped you for your next 3 years with Providence?
Yeah, it was obviously like a little bit nerve wracking, but also very exciting as a freshman going into your first playoff round. We didn't end up winning, which was pretty heartbreaking. I remember just like feeling so upset just that we lost, but then for the seniors as well, I was like, I can't believe this is the end, like, for them. But yeah, it was definitely eye-opening, and it just the level of the game even went up another notch from like regular season to playoffs. So it was just very cool to experience that for the first time.
Yeah, in your sophomore season, your team improved a lot record-wise. What was the key to that improvement that season, and what role did you play in that improvement?
Yeah, I think we had a young team at that point as well. And just like having the experience under our belt, like my class had, I think, 7 of us in it. So just like us all having our freshman year under our belt, like feeling a bit more comfortable and confident really helped just because we were able to step up our game from the year before.
Yeah, I'm curious to ask you this question as well. How did you balance both academics and hockey at such a high level? Because Providence is a great academic school, but it's also a great hockey school as well. How do you try to balance all of that aspects of your life at such a high level?
Yeah, it's definitely not easy at all times. Time management's huge. Like I kind of, especially for my freshman first semester, just kind of figuring that all out. Um, we also have a study hall at our school, so they would have us do a certain amount of hours, which helped because you knew you had to be in there studying for that amount of time. So it gave you that time to get ahead on your schoolwork. But yeah, it's definitely not an easy thing to do, especially when some weeks are obviously harder. You have more schoolwork, and I found going to the rink was kind of a good way just to like a mental break almost. Like you're just going out there to practice and having some fun, and you just get to forget about all your schoolwork during that hour and a half practice or whatever it is. So
Yeah, no, school can be very stressful, and being in college myself, it very much is. And I'm always impressed by how the student athletes can balance it because I don't know if I could as well. And with it all online, it's been, I feel like, more difficult. I don't know. I don't know if you had any online college experience because I know you were a senior when this whole thing happened, but just talk about that, I guess.
yeah, so I it didn't go online until after our season was over. So, but I did experience it. I think it was about 2 months, and yeah, it was definitely weird adjusting to that and just like not being in the classroom environment. I found was a little difficult just because it's a lot more distracting when you're on your computer and you can easily just be going on your phone doing whatever. So,
Definitely,
yeah.
the face-to-face interaction, I think, makes for a better learning experience. At least that's my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. I also had my senior year a few seminar classes, so it was like all about discussion. So it was just a little bit harder to do that on Zoom rather than in the class.
Yeah, those breakout rooms, I think they're called, are the most awkward things ever, especially first day of class. I don't know if you've experienced this, but you go in a breakout room, you don't know anyone that's in it. It's the most awkward thing ever, and I hate breakout rooms. That's one thing I can't wait to end once this whole thing's over.
Yeah, I remember the first one I went and we were all just kind of, there was, I think it was only like 3 of us, like it was a smaller class, and we were all just kind of looking at each other, we're like, so, like, how's it going? Like,
Yeah,
it's
no
so
one. Yeah, and then once you finish your work, it's just like everyone's just sitting there like we don't know what to do, and it's
yeah,
I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the breakout rooms. That's the one thing I don't like about Zoom.
yeah, I can agree with you on that.
Now, during your junior season, you got to play in the Nutmeg Classic. What was that whole experience like for you and playing teams that you normally don't play during a regular season?
Yeah, that was a great memory actually. It was a lot of fun. Just because we don't normally get to do like a tournament style like I don't even play or whatever. So it was cool because it just like brought a little bit more competitive out of us because we knew there was something to win. So we're like, okay, like we got to bear down and like win this trophy. Like what a great memory that would be. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and just being able to play those teams who we don't normally get to play, it was a little bit different because they're obviously in a different conference. So that was cool.
Is there any difference you notice about playing teams that aren't in Hockey East versus teams that are in Hockey East? Is there different playing styles, or is it kind of similar? At least for the ECAC teams, because I know watching WCHA teams is a little bit different style of play than Hockey East.
Yeah, I don't remember like too much of a difference. I do remember I think we played Quinnipiac that tournament, and I felt like they were like really like big and strong just because compared to Hockey East, I find that like play a little bit quicker, like faster. I guess depending on the team you're playing as well, but yeah, I remember playing Quinnipiac, and I was like, these girls are tough.
Definitely. Now, also during your junior year, Matt Kelly, your head coach, was in his first season. What's it like to play under him, and what was it like being a player under a coaching transition? Is that a difficult process to be a part of?
Yeah, I thought the new coaches did a great job, like coming in and just getting after it. I loved playing for Matt, and Jake Anderson and Ali Dominico were there too, and yeah, they were three of my favorite coaches. They all got along really well, and they kept a really good balance of like seriousness, but also like fun. Like I just like absolutely loved going to the rink every day and going to practice because I knew it was going to be a good time.
And did you learn anything under Matt Kelly that you didn't know before regarding your hockey knowledge or hockey abilities?
Yeah, I feel like I learned a lot, and like even especially I was in my junior year that year, and I remember noticing just like my game was still improving because sometimes I find people like really notice their improvement from their freshman and sophomore year, but just that year, like a few things that he taught, like just like holding on to the puck more, like not forcing those passes, like certain just small things that those coaches really got on me about, I was able to improve, which was great.
Now, in the Hockey East playoffs that year, you beat Merrimack in the quarterfinals. Talk about winning your first Hockey East playoff series, and what was it like going to the Hockey East semifinals that season?
Yeah, that was so exciting. That was obviously our first time while I'd been there. And it was like everyone on that team's first time. So it was so exciting. Like I remember going into the locker room after that game, and we were just all like dancing and singing at the top of our lungs for like a good 10 minutes. Just an awesome experience. And then we also got to host hockey's that year. So it was really cool having like students from our school like be able to come and watch, and just playing at our home rink during that too is really awesome.
Yeah, I want to ask you more about hosting the Hockey East tournament. Being a player in that atmosphere, did you notice anything different versus other Hockey East tournaments that you played in? And what's it like being a host? Because talking to some other Providence players that were in that game, they were saying that you guys had to sit on the away bench that game, not the normal home bench that you normally sit at, which was an adjustment.
Yeah, it was definitely weird switching benches. We actually like that whole week of practice, we're like practicing. Like normally if we were gonna do something, we'd go sit on our bench, but we started like using that bench just to get used to it. It ended up being fine in the game. Like I didn't notice it that much, but it was definitely a little bit of a change.
Why they make you guys sit on the away bench? That doesn't seem like that will be an advantage or anything, especially if you're like a higher seed.
Yeah, we explained to them because our men's team actually uses that bench, so it's not like there's any type of advantage or anything. But Northeastern was the team we were playing, and they refused. Like they wanted us to be on that bench, so we were just like, okay, if that's what you want, that's what we'll do, because they were the higher seed.
Little mental games, I see. Did you guys get to use the same locker room, or you had to use the
Yeah,
away?
we did get to use our locker room, which
Uh,
was very nice.
I would prefer the locker room over the a road bench if I had to choose.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, you played Northeastern in that game. I want to talk a little bit about it. What was it like playing that game, playing one of the best teams in the conference? And unfortunately, you lost that game in a heartbreaking fashion. So just talk about what you remember from that game as a whole.
Yeah, it was a huge game. I don't know what it is. Like, I think it might just be Northeastern being such a great team and like high up in the rankings. Our team always came out flying against them. Like we knew like this is gonna be a huge game. Like we gotta like bring all we got. So we came out flying. We knew what we were up against. It was obviously heartbreaking to lose. Like everyone gave it their all. Like I think we ended up, if I remember correctly, out shooting them that game. Like we like as much as it was hard to lose that game and so heartbreaking, like we knew we gave it our all. So it was like nice to know that at least.
Yeah, definitely. Those are the toughest games, I feel like, because you clearly outplay a team and then you still lose. It just sometimes
Yeah.
the bounces don't go your way and it's just disappointing, but that's part of hockey.
Yeah, it was definitely a heartbreaker, but I'm glad we were able to leave it all out on the ice.
Yeah, that's good. And Northeastern's a great team, so it's no shame in losing to them.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, coming into your senior year, I was curious, what type of leadership did you want to bring in? Were you more of a vocal or lead by example type of player?
I would say a little bit of both. I'm definitely a vocal person. I feel like I bring a lot of energy in the locker room. I just like to get the girls hyped up. So yeah, just bringing that energy, being a good teammate, staying positive, picking up your teammates when they're down.
Yeah, what type of energy did you try to bring? Did you do more singing routines like in the locker room instead of the bus, or any what type of motivation did you try to bring the team, I guess, being a senior on your final year?
Yeah, we just I think just a mixture of everything, like just like definitely singing. We like to get some songs on before the games and just like even just yelling random stuff just to get everyone fired up. I actually sat beside I know Sierra Barone's been on here before. I
Yeah.
sat beside her in the locker room and she's another big energy player, so we would just be doing dumb stuff to get everyone hyped up. It was a lot of fun.
What was your go-to karaoke song that you sang? "Don't Stop Believin'." I know that's a popular one amongst the boys in my team, but any particular
Yeah.
song you went to?
I'm a big Shania Twain fan. And I would like to perform Party for Two. It was always a fun one.
Nice. I've actually never heard that song. I don't know if that makes me crazy or not.
Really? Oh, you're gonna
Yeah,
have to go listen to it.
I have to listen
It's
to
a good one.
Quantico, and I gotta listen to Shania Twain. I'll remember to do that after this interview. Now, in your senior year, you lost to New Hampshire in the quarterfinals. What were your emotions after that game, knowing you played your final college hockey game?
Yeah, I think I cried for probably like 3 hours. Like it was one of the saddest moments of my life, like just knowing that it was over. But looking back now, it's also like one of my like favorite college experiences. Two of my other teammates, Whitney Dove and Meg Ricard, the three of us were like sitting out on our bench. Our dads came down. We actually have a really cute picture of it. And we like just took a final lap around the ice just all together. So obviously it was so heartbreaking and so upsetting, but just looking back now and like having that moment and that closure at our home rink was nice.
Now, I'm curious to ask you this as well. Obviously, a few weeks later, the whole hockey season got shut down because of the coronavirus. So, was there any, like, I guess, closure that you had because of playing? You got to play your final game, and because
Uh,
some teams didn't even get to play their final game, I guess.
yeah, my parents actually brought that up to me. They're like, in a way, like even though it was awful that you guys lost and heartbreaking, like at least you did get that closure. Like you were at your home rink when it happened. Like your hockey season ended like as it would any other year. Because I think that would have been a lot tougher, like being at that tournament or like not like the unknown. Like I can't imagine how much like crazy that would have drove me.
Oh yeah, no, talking to players that are in that situation, that's something that they still struggle with for this season is the unknown and how they're trying to play for their seniors this year.
Yeah, for sure. I cannot imagine.
Now, looking back at your time at Providence, what will you remember the most?
Oh, that's a tough one. I feel like there's a lot of things. That moment I was talking about before, after that game, will definitely be a moment I'll remember forever. Um, Always the first goal. That's always a fun one that you remember. And I think just like the friendships I've made that like will last a lifetime. Like I'm still so close with so many of the girls, and that's just something special to take away from it.
Yeah, what was your first goal like? I'm curious to ask. Do you still have the puck, and who did you call first?
Yeah, so it was against Merrimack actually, my freshman year. So I played with a senior on my line, and she passed the puck out to me, and I just kind of one timed it right into the net. And I like feel like I like blacked out for a second. I was like, oh my gosh, did I just score my first college goal? um, yeah, I remember going to my phone and like it was blown up with a bunch of texts, and I called my parents, and they were just so excited and so happy for me.
That's awesome. And have you been keeping in touch with Providence this year? And what's your thoughts on the team now? And what's your thoughts on their performance? Because they're obviously a top 10 ranked team this year.
Yeah, I've been watching a few of the games. It's really exciting to see because I know they're very young again. I think their freshman class has like eight, or I'm not sure the exact number. And there's obviously girls I played with on the team still, so it's a lot of fun watching them and seeing them do so well. And but yeah, I stay in touch with them. We have our Snapchat groups. I FaceTime them sometimes. I was actually talking to my coaches this weekend, so it's cool to form those relationships.
Yeah, that's awesome. And speaking of your time in college hockey, what was the best road arena you got to play in? Because Hockey East has some really cool ones. I'm a bit biased because I'm from New England, but
um, that's a good question. I think I would probably go with Northeastern. Like it's kind of like older, but it's still nice and just kind of reminded me of like home a little bit even. But I'm a little biased, and I think our rink's the best one to play at. I loved playing at home. It was always my favorite.
yeah, Schneider's a cool rink. I like it a lot because it's small, but it's also big. I don't know how to describe it for people that haven't been there, but I really enjoy it a lot. And there's like not a bad seat in the house when you go there.
Yeah, for sure. I loved our rink. It was awesome to play there.
Now, speaking of some of the teammates you got to play with Christina Putinha during your time at Providence. What's it like to be what was it like to be her teammate, and what's it like playing against her now, being rivals in the NWHL?
Yeah, I definitely liked it a lot better when we were on the same team. She's a great player. You could always count on her for some big plays, and those big plays would get the team going. So it was definitely a lot of fun playing with her. And we're friends off the ice, obviously, as well. So she's a great girl. Our parents are actually really good friends. They went boating a lot this past summer. So it's just cool to see like all those relationships still lasting today.
Yeah, that's awesome. And another teammate you got to play with, and I feel like she does not get enough recognition as she should, is Kathleen McHugh. She was a great leader. Talk about being her teammate as well, and what was it like having her in your senior class as well?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I actually got to room with Kathleen my first year and then again in my senior year. So we got along pretty well. She's a great girl, great teammate. She just brings a lot of energy. Like she works hard every shift. I actually played on a line with her for a little bit there in my, I think, junior and senior year. I don't know if I'm remembering correctly, but yeah, she's a really hard worker, really great girl. So definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah, and speaking of being a pro athlete, Mike, I want to ask you this question. Is there any particular challenges you have to face being a female pro athlete that some male pro athletes don't have to face?
Um, I don't know if I can think of something right off the top of my head. I feel like there's little things like it's obviously tough. Like I know male pro athletes have so much exposure, so like all of that. So I think the NWHL did a really good job getting more of a fan base this year, but obviously um, we don't have that same exposure that the men do. So yeah, I would say that's probably one of the big things.
Yeah, and what's it like being part of the NWHL now, and what's been your favorite part of being a pro athlete?
It's a lot of fun. I really liked playing for Buffalo this year. We had a close knit team. The bubble was a really cool experience, allowed us to all become closer. I think just being able to play against all these great players is something really special as well.
And we're now in the non-hockey segment of the podcast where I ask you some non-hockey questions. Now, we were talking about music for a little bit throughout the podcast, but what music do you like to listen to on a general basis, or what fired you up before a game?
Yeah, so I am a big country girl. Love love my country, but I also love Nickelback. That I'll listen to Burn It to the Ground, some of those songs before the game. But yeah, I was a big Nickelback fan this summer, just random songs, country. I kind of like everything, honestly.
Yeah, I'm a big country guy myself. I've been getting into it, especially last summer. Thomas Rhett, that guy makes fire music. I really enjoy him, and Luke Combs as well. I know a lot of people like him.
Yeah, those are both great country singers. Good choices.
Definitely. And listening to Nickelback, is that band controversial? Because I know some people who absolutely don't like Nickelback, and then there's some people who absolutely love Nickelback. Have you noticed that when you've been listening to them?
Yeah, I've always heard that too. I'm like, I know there's people who like absolutely hate it, but I'm definitely one of the ones who love it. I know a
Maybe
few of my friends love it as well. We always have that on when we're hanging out on the boat in the summer, random things like that. But yeah, I don't know why it's so controversial.
maybe because it's an American thing because they're from Canada. So like maybe a
Maybe.
few Americans are like, ah, Canada, they're stealing our rock music. So I don't know. That might be my opinion on that. That's just
That
what I
would
think.
make sense.
Yeah, definitely. Now, doing research on yourself, you went viral for a little bit. You were on a boat. You were having a little bit fun drinking Whitney. I have to ask you, what was that like being viral on those different platforms?
Yeah, it was really funny. I remember getting like a couple of texts like in the morning or I forget what time they tweeted it at, and I was like, and they're like, please tell me this is you. Please tell me this is you. I was like, oh my gosh, that is me. Like, it was just so funny, and all my friends were loving it. So got a lot of love for that one, which is
Who
cool.
sent it to them? Do you
Um,
know?
yeah, one of my friends.
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, no, I like doing research on all the players I have on the podcast, and I saw that video pop up. I was like, oh, I probably should ask her about it. I feel like that'll be a fun
Yeah.
story. That's
Yeah.
impressive too, because I could not do that drinking and then, but also being on the board, like that's I gotta give it to you. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun doing it. I remember I was wearing like my dad's old hockey equipment, and I was like, do you think I'm gonna like float? Like, should I be? And like the pants were so big that they literally made me float in the water. Like, it was hilarious.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now,
Yeah.
what is something that most people don't know about you that you wish more people did know about you?
Ooh, that's a good question. I feel like I'm a pretty big open book. Um, I don't know. Maybe that I love to sing in the shower. I guess it's a random thing that people might not know, but yeah, other than that, I don't know. I'm a pretty open book.
I'm not a shower singer. I'm more of a car singer by myself. I feel like I sing better by myself in the car. And then once you open up the door, the voice gets bad. I don't know if that's something you noticed too.
Yeah.
So Blink-182, that's my go-to for singing in the car. That's some good stuff. And I guess hopefully some people can know a little bit about myself from listening to this podcast. Now, what is your biggest pet peeve? You don't seem like you have many pet peeves. You seem like a pretty positive person, but is there anything that bothers you?
I would say there's it's kind of random, but like when people chew their gum just like really loudly, it just grinds my gears for some reason. I want to like rip the gum and throw it out of their mouth.
Yeah, I can see that. You know, I work for some baseball teams, and baseball, those guys love to chew their gum, and I feel like it can get annoying sometimes. My personal big pet peeve is when people don't cover their mouths when they sneeze or cough, especially
Yeah,
now during the pandemic. It's absolutely disgusting. Just cover your mouth. That's all I have to say. It's
for
gross.
sure.
No one wants to see that. Now, during your time in Providence, who was the funniest teammate you got to play with?
Oh man, that's a good question. I feel like if my teammates are listening, I'm gonna get ripped for this. I think I'm gonna go with probably Sierra Barone or Delaney Couture. They're both hilarious, and the two of them together they just go off of each other, and it's really funny.
Now, who had the best style at Providence besides yourself, obviously?
Well, yeah, obviously me. No, oh, that's a good one.
You guys are
Um,
a stylish team, I'll have to say.
yeah, there's like so many different styles too. Like I feel like someone whose style like always made me laugh and I just loved was Chloe Gonzalez. She would come to the rink in the most interesting outfits, and it was just always fun to see what she was gonna wear.
Yeah, definitely. I know a lot of people say Christina Puccini had great style. I'm trying to think who
Yeah,
else just from the top of my head, but no, that's I don't know. Like just seeing like sometimes Providence posts like the walk-in videos when you go in the rink, and I was like, yeah, I got to respect some of the style. It's pretty good because
yeah,
guys hockey it's just suits ties. You know, it can get boring. You guys have a
yeah,
little more freedom with the outfits you wear.
yeah, for sure.
Now, final non-hockey question: if you could have lunch with anyone in the world, who would it be and why?
Ooh, hmm, that's a tough one. Um, trying to think.
Tom Brady would
um,
be cool. You know, he went through a lot of adversity, proved people wrong. The lunch would be disgusting because it would be like avocado stuff, but I think that would be a cool person to have lunch with.
for sure. I don't know. I feel like there's just a bunch of different people. Like there another person, she's a sports broadcaster, is Jackie Redmond.
Yeah.
Um, I'm actually going to be like I'm going back to school next year to a sports media school. I'm looking into going into that field, so it'd be really cool to talk with someone who's worked on like NHL Network and somewhere I would maybe see myself going as well.
Yeah, no, I'm the part of the reason why I'm doing this podcast is to help my sports media career blossom. And someone I look up to in that field is Kevin Weeks. He's on NHL Network. He does a great job analyzing games. Keith Jones does a great job as well on NBC, and Anson Carter does a great job as well. So there's a lot of great people in that field that have a lot of knowledge, and especially for the women's players as well. I know Jennifer Botterill does some stuff with TSN, and I think Sarah Nurse has done some stuff as well, and she does a fantastic job. And I was watching the Notre Dame college hockey game a few days ago, and Kendall Coyne is probably one of the best sports analysts ever. Like, there were some things that she was talking about in the game that I would have never noticed as a fan. So I hope that career works for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, back to some hockey questions. Now, what do you think should be done to help grow women's hockey, especially since you were in the NWHL last year? Is anything that you think should be done more to help grow the sport?
Yeah, I feel like recently they've been doing a lot and it's been getting a lot more growth, but I feel like just getting it more out there in the media, especially with how big media is now, and yeah, just getting us that exposure, that fan base, because I feel like the more fans we're able to get, the more exposure we'll get, and the bigger that women's hockey will be able to become.
Definitely. Now, what should I do better as an interviewer to improve this podcast and make this platform better, especially since you'll be going into sports media soon? I'm kind of curious to hear your feedback on my performance.
Oh, I think it was great. You did a great job. The questions were awesome. You really go. I like how you respond to everything as well. Like, it's not just like ask a question, okay. Like, you like give a lot of your own input as well, which is awesome. Um, I really like also how you asked hockey questions and then non-hockey, a little bit of NWHL, college, everything. I think you did a great job. I don't know if I have like a specific thing that I would do differently, but if I think of anything, I'll let you know.
Well, I appreciate the kind words. It really means a lot to me. And hopefully I've improved as an interviewer throughout my time doing this podcast, because I listened to the first ever interview I did and I was pretty nervous. I sounded brutal. So hopefully I've improved a little bit. So I appreciate the kind words. Now, I know we've been shouting out a lot of teammates throughout this podcast, but is there any shout outs you'd like to make to any of your teammates, friends, family members before we let you go?
Well, fam, love them. Wouldn't be where I am without them. They're honestly my biggest supporters. They got to come down to Providence a lot. It was definitely weird for them not being able to come to our games this year. I know they're upset, but they got their little fat heads in the stands, so it was fun to look up and see those. But yeah, I absolutely love my fam, and I'm so thankful for everything they've done for me to get me to where I am today.
Well, thank you so much, Nev, for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it a lot. I wish you all the best in Buffalo and in your future career endeavors. And I just want to let you know that you're one of my favorite Providence hockey players ever. And it means a
Oh,
lot to me to come on my podcast. You're
thank you
fantastic.
so much. I had a lot of fun. I'm glad I could come on.
No problem. Take care. See you soon, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
No problem.